that's what it's going to be. But your opinion should not have changed. If you love Trey Lance before the draft and what the 49ers are going to do, that shouldn't change because of what happened in Chicago.
So, Marcus, then let's deal with the second piece of it. Based on what we've seen through now, 16 games plus one and everything else, RC is saying they took the wrong guy, that they should have taken the guy Chicago had who won the game on Sunday. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, look, me and RC talked about this at the draft. Like, we thought Justin Fields was right there along with Trevor Lawrence as far as what he could be in this NFL. Like, that was something that we talked about on show after show. And why is he not in this conversation to be the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers along with Mac Jones and Trey Lance? But two things can be true. Like Jeff just said, it ain't time to give up on Trey Lance. First of all, he played in a damn monsoon. This is a running football team where obviously that's compromised when you're playing in those type of conditions. It's against what the San Francisco 49ers really like to do. And then second of all, yeah, we thought Justin Fields was better. We talked about the lack of reps that Trey Lance has had in college. We talked about him coming into the league from a lower tier level of college. We saw Justin Fields play against guys in the Big Ten that you're going to see in the NFL. That's always the case. Doesn't determine how good you're going to be. It's just something that gives us as former players a little bit more comfort about this guy has seen the type of competition that he's going to play against on the next level to some degree. But ultimately, we all, not all, but RC and I believe that Justin Fields was the second best quarterback in this draft, which is why I was screaming he should be playing last year for the Chicago Bears. Take your lumps, progress, and now you get to be the player that you need to be. But ultimately, fellas, Trey Lance, the quarterback in San Francisco for a long time. They gave up a lot of first-round picks to get him.
And so that then begs the question, because sitting yesterday in that seat, another guy named Dan, who's pretty good at evaluating quarterbacks, was saying there were things he saw that really upset him, which is to say the fundamentals, some of the things that, that most people might not normally see. From the people you talk to around the league, how much concern was there about that performance?
I think a lot of people are willing to write it off because of the conditions. And running football team that lost its running back early, that didn't have its run blocking, monster run blocking tight end. There's a lot of reasons. Trey Lance is going to struggle. He's going to have bad games. He's going to have bad throws. He's going to have bad possessions. He knows this. Kyle Shanahan knows this and has said as much. They're going to have to ride that out and do the best they can to mitigate it. But RC, as usual, is nuanced in what he's saying. He's not just saying he thinks Fields would have been the better pick. He's also saying the Niners made a mistake in keeping Garoppolo because when Lance inevitably does have rough patches, it's going to lead to, should they be going to Jimmy G? And that's why 100%. It's up to Kyle Shanahan to manage that locker room.
I think it's going to lead to that in the media, but I have a hard time believing that that's actually going to happen in the locker room. Because as closely as we watch the 49ers watch the 49ers. Yeah. They were a part of that team in the playoffs last year when Jimmy Garoppolo was bad. Yeah. And even the playoff games that they won,
You're saying they carried him.
Bad.
You're saying he was carried by that team.
Yeah, he was. And I think that the players know that. And my guess is that they'd be willing to sustain whatever growing pains there are as long as Trey Lance has a good play or a good game every now and then to give them hope that he can turn into the type of quarterback that they want him to be. I think most players in the locker room, as much as they like Jimmy Garoppolo, they remember what happened last year. And they remember what happened in the Super Bowl. I think they remember that, and they have hopes that that Trey Lance can transcend some of those mistakes.
That's why Shanahan's messaging internally has to be as strong and consistent as it's been externally, because he needs that buy-in from the rest of the roster.
This is GM Fox, right? This is GM Fox. Let me tell you something. When you're in the locker room, bro, they're not worried about 2 years of development. What they do know about Jimmy G, whether they're carrying him or not, is they win dang near 70% of their games when he is playing quarterback. When he's not, they don't win nearly that much. So something has to change when Jimmy G is in the game.
For the hour, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers really struggled on offense in their season opener against Minnesota. Rodgers and the new receivers out of sync. Head coach Matt LaFleur talking about the lack of practice reps for his team.
Minnesota didn't play their guys in the preseason, so obviously it didn't hurt them. So maybe we're doing something wrong in practice, whatever it may be. But certainly it's disappointing.
Okay, so Minnesota's guys are Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, and their guys are Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. Marcus, go ahead, help me, because go. What did you think of that?
I mean, it's just simple. Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen been in Minnesota playing with Kirk Cousins. Bro, we talked about this all offseason. Aaron Rodgers needed to have time with his wide receivers. And then when they play bad, you get Aaron and you get Matt LaFleur talking about these guys need to understand where they need to be. They got to catch the football. Obviously, we know they got to catch the football. We saw Christian Watson drop a touchdown. But ultimately, look, I'm no offensive guy. Jeff Saturday is more involved in this than I am. But most of the time, when quarterbacks have young wide receivers, don't they link up in the offseason so they can build timing? Don't they work beyond having to show up to OTAs and minicamp so they can figure out what the rapport is going to be like? Aaron Rodgers has had a guy that he works within an offense as good as anybody almost in league history in Devontae Adams. And now you usher in these new receivers, and all of the talk every time something goes wrong is you putting it on their shoulders. And I get it. This is the NFL grown man league. You're supposed to blame those guys. I haven't heard any of them, Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, come out and say, you know what, this on us. I got to take responsibility. I got to get these guys ready. We got to do extra.
Fourth and
Every time something goes wrong is you putting it on their shoulders. And I get it. This is the NFL grown man league. You're supposed to blame those guys. I haven't heard any of them, Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, come out and say, you know what, this on us. I got to take responsibility. I got to get these guys ready. We got to do extra. We got to find time in order to build what we need to build in order.
Right place at the right time, and we just can't do what our 101 job is. You can blame anybody you want when your job is to do one thing. We say it all the time about kickers. What's the kicker's job?
One job.
Make the kick.
I get that.
If you're a receiver, if you tell me he can't get off, he can't make a play after he catches it, he does all this kind of thing. Catch the ball.
But wait, that was not the only play. I get it. That was the most glaring one, and it's got to be enormously deflating.
Right,
obviously, it's the first play of the season. Yeah. But there was a lot of moments. There was that moment Christian Watson doesn't have his head around. They look out of sync. They looked at him. Peyton Manning would never have let that happen. He would have lived at Christian Watson's house the entire offseason.
Listen, let me tell you, Peyton Manning wouldn't have rolled his eye. Peyton Manning would have put hands on people. In the preseason, he would have put hands on people.
All right.
If they're not catching the ball, if your default is they're not catching the ball, that's a problem. That's a problem.
And maybe this is my union background bleeding in, but I'm not going to be upset at a guy for meeting his requirements, his job requirements, which is what we have for Aaron Rodgers. There are many reasons to be upset at Aaron Rodgers. Not teaching those guys how to play is not one of them. Aaron Rodgers get paid a lot of money to throw really good passes. Those receivers get paid a lot of money to learn their job. You know whose job it is to teach them that? The damn coach, not the quarterback. The quarterback's job is to read and execute. If you want to get on Aaron Rodgers for not reading the defense and executing, that's fine. No. Don't get on Aaron Rodgers for them running the wrong routes and dropping passes.
Marcus, the quarterback gets paid $50 million a year to do everything in his power to make the team the best it can be. And that doesn't start on July 23rd, right? I understand.
How long ago was July 23rd? Was that not enough time? Was that not enough time?
How is showing up in May and June going to put that ball in any better position?
It's not going to help.
That was perfect.
See, you guys, y'all making me sick now. Y'all making me sick. Y'all making me sick. Y'all act like Christian Watson, the only damn receiver that's ever dropped a good pass. That's number one. The other part is, what are we talking about? Jeff Saturday and Dominique Foxworth, I'm so pissed off at y'all right now. In what world do you not remember quarterbacks getting with their receivers to build rapport? Are y'all kidding me?
He has been there since July. We're in September. How many more reps do you need to take to get them to be fluid?
Bro,
listen, when
Brady show up to Tampa at a damn park and get kicked out, building rapport with receivers that's already going to the Hall of Fame.
Listen, I get it. What I'm telling you is from July 25 until September 11, if you can't figure out how to get these guys in the proper place, are you telling me they're all in the wrong place? Because the catching portion is what the major problem is.
Overreaction.
It's not they're out of position, the catching portion.
This is the definition of overreaction. Ask the question, but they lost one game. They lost a game last year too really bad in week one. They lost one game, and now we're saying saying that Aaron Rodgers is not preparing the right way?
Has
Are
nothing to
they
do with
going to
anything.
turn this thing around, Marcus?
Yes.
Are they going to turn? They're going to get their tackles back, and Alan Lazard, who now we've decided is the second coming of Don Hudson. Are they going to turn their season around starting next week like they did last year?
Yes, this is not an
No.
overreaction about the game.
Yes.
I'm telling you what it's an overreaction about. The overreaction is every time an interview happens, we hear about how bad the receivers are. And if you wanted the receivers to be better, we all know that you put in more time with young guys who you've never played with in order for y'all to look better when you step on the field. That's as
not you,
simple
Jeff.
as that.
Please, Jeff. Let me say something, Jeff. Let me say something.
Really
So, okay, very quickly. So, if you believe that he should have been there in the offseason, how can you also say that they are going to get better? Because the offseason is past. Like, there's
Because
no
they
point
spending
in saying
time together.
Don't use
Because
logic.
right now they're
Week.
spending
I
time
got
together.
one more thing
One
to say.
Hold on.
Hey, I got one more thing to say. If you're going to blame Aaron Rodgers for something, blame him for letting Devontae Adams walk out the building before he did his deal.
Well, but
That's what you can blame for. Other than that, don't blame him for these new cats. I'm done with you, Swaggo. I'm done with you. I'm about to show you pancakes to make you more mad. That's what I got for you.
I said it this
show is
offseason.
off the
Aaron
rails.
Rodgers is one of the hardest quarterbacks to play wide receiver for because he makes throws that most guys we have never seen make. So when you have new receivers that don't understand that Aaron Rodgers is going to throw a back shoulder when you covered, and you need to know that. You need to have